स्टूडेंट्स इस लेक्चर से हम लोग बात शुरू करेंगे अबाउट द एनालॉग ट्रांसमिशन। हम लोगों ने डिजिटल ट्रांसमिशन को पढ़ा और हम लोगों ने देखा कि किस तरह से हम लोग डिजिटल डेटा को कन्वर्ट करते हैं इनटू डिजिटल सिग्नल फॉर ट्रांसमिशन ओवर द ट्रांसमिशन मीडियम। Students, we also went through the details of the conversion of analog data to digital data and the process of digitization so that this digital data can then be transmitted over the transmission medium. In both the cases, our transmission was digital. Students, अब कुछ बात करेंगे about the analog transmission. And for analog transmission, we need to convert our data into the analog signal. The first topic is the digital to analog conversion. Students, digital to analog conversion is the process of changing one of the characteristics of the analog signal. And we do that based on the information that's contained in the digital signal. Students, analog signal की characteristics हम लोगों ने study की थी, and there were three distinct characteristics of an analog signal. The first one was amplitude. Then we had frequency, and then we had phase. Amplitude, frequency, and phase. अब students, इस analog signal में, the analog signal that we are using to transmit the digital data from point A to point B, we vary any one of these characteristics or a combination of these characteristics to represent the data that we want to modulate on it. Don't worry about the word modulate, I'll explain. But we vary either one of these characteristics or a combination of these characteristics of the analog signal that we are going to send based on the information in the digital data. The zeros and the ones in the digital data, based on that, we vary the characteristic, either the amplitude or the frequency or the phase of this analog signal or a combination of either of these. And that's what we use for the digital to analog conversion. As you can see on the slide, a very simple slide that represents the basic concept of digital to analog conversion. We have got a digital data and we have got a modulator. The modulator modulates the carrier signal. So what we do is we actually impose that digital data, or we try to represent this digital data by varying either one of the characteristics that we have discussed of the analog signal. At the receiving end, this data is then demodulated. The data that we have modulated, digital data that we have modulated onto this analog signal using either of the techniques that we discussed, we will demodulate it at the receiving end. Students, digital to analog conversion की तीन different techniques हैं. In the first one, as you can see, we will discuss each one of them one by one, but for an introduction, the amplitude shift keying or ASK is the first technique. In this one, your amplitude varies while your frequency and your phase remains constant. Then you have your frequency shift keying or FSK. So you must have guessed by now, in this case, the frequency varies and your amplitude and phase are constant. Similarly, in the case of phase shift keying, of course, your phase varies and your amplitude and frequency remain constant. Now, students, we have got a fourth technique. Apparently, it's the best mechanism that is available, and that combines both the amplitude and the phase. So, a combination of amplitude shift keying and phase shift keying is the CAM or quadrature amplitude modulation, which is apparently the most efficient of these options, and it's a digital to analog conversion technique that's commonly used today.